He clenched his fists, watching a black man writhe in pain on a hospital gurney. No insurance, the doctor muttered coldly, turning his back. 20 minutes later, she walked in, his wife. The entire ER froze. Not because of her words, but because of the phone in her hand. And the name glowing on the screen. A name every soul in that hospital recognized. What happened next changed everything. But to understand why, we need to go back to the beginning. Harmon Memorial Hospital stood tall against the Chicago skyline, glass, steel, plaques from the mayor's office. Officially, it was the top clinic in the Midwest. Unofficially, it was where money and status determined who deserved care, and who didn't. Dr. Richard Caldwell, 45, chief surgeon, was the living embodiment of that policy. In the hallways, a confident professional. In the OR, a scalpel virtuoso. But for uninsured patients, or those with the wrong skin color, he was the merciless gatekeeper of hospital rules. That evening, 2 people burst into the ER, a man doubled over in pain, and a panicked nurse barely able to catch him. Appendicitis, most likely, said Linda, the attending nurse. He needs surgery. Urgently. The man, black, around 50, in a worn work jacket, clenched his teeth to keep from groaning. His fingers dug into his abdomen like he was trying to hold his insides together. Without hesitation, Linda led him straight to Caldwell, who was sipping coffee outside his office, finishing up his shift. "Doctor, emergency case," she said, voice trembling. Caldwell slowly raised his eyes, scanned the patient from grimy boots to sweat-soaked forehead, and replied coldly, "We don't have any surgeons available." Linda froze. But the OR is empty. He could have peritonitis in an hour. Caldwell didn't even glance at the man. "Send him to county." Silence. The patient's eyes rolled back. His body jerked, he was passing out. Caldwell turned back to the window, like there wasn't a dying man in front of him, just empty space. Not negligence. Not red tape. Just the rules. And everyone in the ER knew exactly which rules he meant. The patient's name was Michael Garrett. While Linda rushed through the halls trying to find someone brave enough to challenge Caldwell, Michael clung to consciousness. His breathing had turned ragged, each breath clawing through pain, like a time bomb going off inside him. He grabbed Linda's hand when she leaned in to check his pulse. His fingers were cold, sticky with sweat. "Call my wife," he whispered. There was no fear in his eyes, only weary resolve, like he already knew how this would end. With trembling fingers, Linda dialed the number. Elaine Garrett arrived 20 minutes later. She stormed into the hospital like a hurricane, hair wild, eyes blazing with panic. When she saw her husband, pale, half-conscious, abandoned in a hallway, her face twisted in horror. "He's dying," she screamed, her voice cutting through the ER like a blade, making a couple nurses flinch. "Why isn't he in surgery?" Caldwell, walking by with a folder, didn't even stop. "Your husband doesn't have insurance," he tossed over his shoulder, like explaining why a coupon had expired. "Try another hospital." Elaine froze. For a moment, confusion flickered in her eyes, as if she couldn't believe this was real. Then something clicked. Slowly, she pulled out her phone. "All right," she said softly, but there was steel in her whisper. "Let's try another hospital." Her call lasted exactly 30 seconds. Just enough time to end Caldwell's career. Exactly 10 minutes later, David Morrison stormed into the hospital. He didn't walk in. He didn't enter. He burst through the doors, with such force the glass panels rattled in their aluminum frames. The director of the Harmon Group Clinic Network walked with purpose, every step sharp and loud against the polished floor. Nurses froze. Orderlies froze. Even the front desk administrator backed away from his computer. Morrison's eyes were locked on Caldwell. The surgeon was calmly filling out a report, humming to himself. "You refuse to operate on Michael Garrett." Morrison's voice wasn't loud. It was quiet. Too quiet. Caldwell didn't even look up. He just rolled his eyes like a man being interrupted from something important. "This isn't a charity, David," he scoffed, clicking his pen. "No insurance, send them to county. Rules." Then Morrison pulled out a document. Slowly. Deliberately. Dramatically. "You know why this hospital is called Harmon Memorial?" Caldwell finally looked up, annoyed. "Because it was founded by James Garrett." A pause. "Michael's father." Another pause. "For the past 20 years, your salary's been paid by his foundation." Silence. Absolute silence. Even the buzzing fluorescent lights seemed to go quiet. Caldwell didn't flinch. Didn't scream. He just went pale. Visibly. The blood drained from his face so fast it looked like someone had pulled a plug inside him. His eyes, confusion. Then realization. Then something primal, fear. And Morrison stood there, still as a statue, holding the one piece of paper that had just destroyed Caldwell's career. In that moment, everything shifted. The morning after that fateful night began for Richard Caldwell at 5:47 a.m. with a cold, official phone call. Dr. Caldwell, you are to report to the director's office by 7 o'clock. The 20-minute drive to the hospital felt endless. His hands stuck to the wheel. His mind repeated one thought: this has to be a mistake. Morrison's office felt like a courtroom. Seated inside, the hospital director, the medical board chairman, the hospital's legal counsel, and, surprisingly, a union representative. The paper handed to him had just 3 bullet points: immediate termination, revocation of all privileges, a 500-meter restraining order from Harmon Memorial property, no recommendation letter. No severance. As Caldwell stammered in disbelief, his phone exploded with notifications. First, a text from the editor of Chicago Medical Journal: regretfully, your article has been pulled. Then, an email from the Surgeons Association: membership suspended pending investigation. And the final blow, a call from his insurance provider: we are forced to cancel your professional liability policy. Meanwhile, social media was on fire. Security footage somehow leaked hit 200K views in 3 hours. Comments flooded in: racist, scumbag, hope he never touches a scalpel again. Former patients chimed in with complaints about his cold, cruel bedside manner. The most humiliating moment came at the medical board hearing. Normally slow and bureaucratic, they convened in 48 hours. 5 senior members reviewed the footage, heard Linda's testimony, and issued a ruling: license suspended for 2 years. Mandatory ethics training. The final nail came from the prestigious Chicago Surgical Club: his name was officially blacklisted. Meanwhile, Michael Garrett was recovering in a VIP suite after a successful surgery. When a reporter asked for comment, he said just one thing: my father built this hospital for everyone. Not just the privileged. Everyone. That line became the headline in dozens of newspapers. A month later, Caldwell sold his home in an upscale neighborhood. His new job? A public clinic on the outskirts of town for the unhoused, assigned via a corrective medicine program. Now, he sees 50 patients a day in a rundown building that smells of bleach and mildew, with no assistants and outdated equipment. The final chapter came in court: 2,000 hours of mandatory service. The judge, a black man in his 60s, stared at him and said coldly, "Doctor, now you'll know what it's like on the other side of the stethoscope." Back at Harmon Memorial, a full internal review led to 3 more terminations for similar misconduct. A new scholarship was launched in James Garrett's name for low-income medical students. Linda was promoted to head nurse. And on the ER wall, a new plaque reads: we treat people. All people. As for Caldwell, every morning he wakes up in a cheap rental, puts on a worn-out lab coat, and rides the bus he had to sell his BMW to a clinic where no one respects him. Sometimes, on bad days, he catches glimpses of former colleagues. They quickly look away. His name is now a warning in Chicago's medical circles. And the worst part? He knows he earned it. The end. Probably. Harsh. Yes. But fair as a scalpel cutting into a festering wound.